So I want to start this off by giving you guys somewhat of a small disclaimer. This dungeon took me almost twice as long as most of the other dungeons that I've went through in the game, and it's mainly just because there's a lot of backtracking in this one. You use the color crystals quite often in this dungeon to kind of raise certain platforms and lower other ones, and you need them to be on certain settings to be able to get into different sections. So bear with me here. I'm going to try to make this as simple as possible, but I mean, I'm going to have to cipher through a lot of this and make sure it's not all backtracking. So anyways, as you can see on screen, we're immediately going to head into the right, and we're going to go all the way over as far as we can to get to a room where we can kill 2 enemies and there's a bubble flying around and we can get our first small key. Go ahead and unlock this door right here on the right, and then we can head up through there to actually get into somewhat of a small little like section on the side of a room where we can go up a staircase, and this is going to be our first big like challenge kind of thing. So from here, because we haven't been able to find a color crystal yet, we're just going to head up, and we actually see this iron ball on top of a little pedestal thing, and there's also that little like pulley that we have to pull to make sure that the little opening on the left stays open. So make sure that the ball is somewhat over there, like close to the area, or just have it somewhere near you. That way you can make sure you can get to it very easily, and just pull the little lever and then make sure you go all the way through to the left. This is going to bring us to pretty much the gimmick of this dungeon, which is the fact that there's multiple floors, and we're pretty much going to have to take down these pillars here that you see, and there's going to be 4 different pillars that we have to break with that iron ball, and once we break all of those, the top floor will actually sink down into the floor below it. So there's 4 total floors, but the 4th floor will end up merging with the 3rd floor. If that makes any sense, you'll kind of see it a little bit later. Anyways, though, after you take out that first pillar, we're going to head up 1 room, and that way it's going to take us to this little chess piece puzzle. Go ahead and solve it just like we've solved any of the ones beforehand, and it's actually going to drop a chest down from the ceiling which contains the map, which is going to be super helpful because there is a lot of area to cover in this dungeon. From there, you're supposed to go back down to the first room that there was a pillar in and go to the next one below that one, but because I'm an idiot, I threw the ball in a place where I can't even grab it for some reason, so props to me for that. That's probably why it took me so long to do this dungeon, so I'm just going to cut over to the next pillar, I guess. So for you guys, you should be coming into the top of this room, but because it took me so long to move around and find the ball again and make sure I could get it, you're going to pretty much throw it diagonally in the room above this and make it over to the platform on the top right here, and then you're just going to throw it down and then break that second pillar. Yes. So up until this point, we haven't found a color crystal, and if you go down below the second pillar, we'll actually find our first one, which is going to actually open up a lot of possibilities for us, because up until this point, we've really only been able to go into a handful of rooms because of all of the raised blocks. So either way, we're going to head back up to that chest room and see what we can find in the little staircase. Heading down those stairs, we emerge into a room where there's a couple of enemies that we've already seen before and 2 that we haven't. We might have actually seen the Beamos once before, but we've never really had to deal with it much. It's basically just a little rotating turret that shoots a little beam whenever it sees you, and the other one is it's literally just Kirby from Kirby. And he does all the same moves as Kirby. Just stun him and hit him a couple times and he'll die. So other than that, the Beamos can't be taken out unless you have the item from the dungeon. So just make your way to one of the entrances in the bottom right of this room and head into the next room. Here we're going to find our color crystal for this specific floor. This is the first floor, so remember where that's at because it's going to come in really handy with this next couple of rooms because there's a lot of blocks we're going to have to move up and down. So with the color crystal set to blue, which means the blue blocks are up, we head all the way to the left and we actually come across a chest. If we head down a little, this is going to give us the stone beak, which, I mean, if you use the tutorial things that the little stone birds give you, then that's great. You can use it now. Walking into this next room on the right, there's a huge hole in front of us. Make sure you equip your hook shot, and sometimes this little mummy enemy can actually walk in the way of the jar which you need to slingshot to. So just make sure that you kind of throw your boomerang or hit him a couple of times to try to get rid of him, and then get your way across there. This is actually going to bring you to a little pedestal where you can kind of maneuver back to the other parts of the room that we've already been to. You can see that I did some sort of like little jump there. If you want to, just go back to the other way and turn the crystal to the other setting, so that way you can just walk over here easily instead of just jumping across. Making our way through that doorway, though, it's actually going to bring us into a room with a couple of 3 of a kind. As always, just make sure that they're all on the same setting, so that way they disperse, and it's going to drop another chest. Opening up the chest, we're actually rewarded this time with the compass, which is going to be the third main item of the dungeon. So we now have the stone beak, the map, and the compass, so we can pretty much maneuver around and use our map as much as possible to get the total benefit of knowing where all of the chests and stuff are. So that's great. But other than that, we're going to head down out of this room and see what's next. Walking into this room, we see a couple spike traps on the floor, and we actually see the third pillar that we need to take out, but unfortunately we don't have the ball with us at the moment, so we're going to have to devise a plan to make sure that we can get the ball to this side of the screen and somehow make it across these little barriers that are in the way. So that's our next big challenge here. From the first floor, we're going to make sure that this color crystal is on the red setting, so the blue blocks are down, and then we're going to head all the way back around over to where we came up to find the iron ball the first time, but instead the blue blocks are going to be down, and we're going to be able to get that chest now, so we're going to head up there and open that chest. Opening this up, we actually are awarded with the item of the dungeon, which is the mirror shield. This is going to replace your regular Hyrule shield, which is kind of nice, and this is going to help you fight Beamoses a lot easier because you can actually hold up your shield and it's actually going to shoot their little beam back at them and disable them, so that's kind of nice. So from here, this is where I finally reacquired my iron ball, and we're going to head down into this next room here where we see a couple of different pots and a bubble flying around. We're going to hit that switch and make it to where it's on the blue setting now, so the red ones are down, and we're going to make our way over here to the left. For the moment, I'm going to go ahead and ignore that staircase that heads up, and we're going to head to the left a little bit more. This room, we're going to find another 3 of a kind set. We're going to go ahead and make sure we kill those, no problem. Once they're dead, it's actually going to drop a chest down from the ceiling, but we're not actually going to be able to make our way over to that just yet because it's inaccessible. Moving into the next room, we actually see a red Hinox, and we've fought a Hinox before, so it's pretty straightforward. He charges after you, and just watch out for the holes in the floor. After spending about another 10 minutes running around the bottom floors trying to make our way back up here using the color switches, we kill the Hinox, and he's going to drop a fairy for us, which will restore our hearts, and a small key will fall from the ceiling. Heading up into this next room very quickly, we are met with a couple of sparks, and we see 2 doorways. We're going to head down the right one just to find out where it goes, and it actually leads us right to where the little chest with the stone beak was. So we're going to immediately go through the one on the left. This is one where you can't go back through it, so be careful there. But it's basically just going to be one of these rooms with a whole bunch of different little tiles on the floor, and each one of them has a hole, and you will fall down and you'll have to make your way back up. So once again, be very careful. There's a lot of backtracking involved if you fall. Making our way back up and through the doorway, we're going to take care of the little tiles this time. Just pretty much what I did was just stand in the doorway and just make sure that you throw your boomerang here and there. I ended up jumping over a lot of them, but just in case they do hit you, they will move you over here and there, so just be careful because you don't want to keep backtracking through this. But once all of them are taken care of, the door on the right is going to open, and we'll head in to find that this is actually the room with the third pillar. We're just on the other side. So from here, we can actually push that little block at the bottom into the hole, and it's going to access or give us access to both sides of the room. But just know that if you go through, it's going to spawn the block back. So our plan here now is going to be to make sure that the ball is on the other side of the wall inside the same room, so that way it doesn't reset, and then we'll have to go all the way back around and jump across and grab it and then throw it across so we can break the pillar. So here we go. So the first thing you want to do, which I did completely by accident, is to get that ball on top of the blue little raised up section in the very corner there, and then we're going to make sure we go all the way back around and hit the switch, so that way we can make sure that it raises up, and we're going to try to get all the way back around on the other side of the third pillar, so that way we can jump across and grab it and bring it into this room. And by the way, since you've pretty much already picked up on the fact that if you fall through a hole, you're going to go down to the floor below it, go down next to that little color crystal on the second floor, and it'll actually drop you on this like little raised up part. Move all the way up to the top, and you'll find a chest with a small key in it. This will come in handy later, so just so that I don't forget to let you guys know to grab that, here's that info. Okay, so now that we've made our way back to this third pillar, we're going to jump across, and we can actually, for some reason, pick this up right here through the wall. I mean, if you need to, you can always push that little block out of the way and still try to grab it. Now we're going to make sure that we drop the ball right here on this other side of the screen, and then we're going to have to make our way all the way back around one more time, so that way we can push the brick into the little abyss and then hop across and grab the ball. Okay, so now that we're all the way back on the other side, like I said, we push this in, jump across, grab the ball, throw it across, jump across, grab it, and now we finally break this third pillar. Finally. Now, if you can see in the bottom left, there's actually a little bomb wall spot that we're going to blow open, and that's going to lead us to the fourth pillar. So heading down into this next room, we can actually see the pillar on the right, but we can't throw the little ball over these little barriers. So we see another bomb wall, blow it up, and we actually are on a little spot where the ball is too far, like it's not going to be able to throw the ball far enough across that. So the plan is we have to get the ball on the bottom here and throw it across those smaller barriers onto the next section, and then we have to grapple hook to that chest that we found earlier, so that way we can make our way up to the last pillar. So after a lot of backtracking and everything, we come back to the three of a kind, we throw the ball across, and now all we have to do is make our way back over there to the other side of these little bomb walls and go across ourselves with our little grappling hook. So we hook shot to the chest. This chest actually has just some rupees in it, so don't worry about the fact that I went ahead and grabbed that one. Take the ball in there and throw the ball at the floor, the last pillar here, and as you can see, we get a cutscene here that brings the fourth floor down into the third floor. Now, with all that out of the way, we're actually going to head up to the third floor, which I did this beforehand. Like, I did this before I did all of the pillars, but I'm doing it in this order because it's going to be a lot easier for you guys to go ahead and do this after the pillars, just to get all that other stuff out of the way and just be done worrying about it. So come up to this floor, immediately head up into this next room, and for me it's going to look a little bit different, and it's kind of a skinny passageway, and there's a lot of like room to fall off here, but for you it should be just one big room. Just make sure you head through the door on the right. This is going to bring you to the mini boss room where we fight the Grim Creeper. So the whole gimmick of this fight is he plays his little flute and he summons a bunch of battle bats, and they're all going to run at you one after another. Your whole goal is to make sure that you kill all of them in one run, so that way he can't summon them again. So just kind of like press yourself up against a corner, or like in a place where they're all going to come at you at one time and it's not going to be too overwhelming for you, and then just make sure you take them all out one at a time until they're all gone, and then he retreats away from here, so that way he doesn't get beat up by us, I guess. So, of course, after we kill the mini-boss, it's actually going to spawn the little teleporter that's going to send us back to the beginning of the dungeon if we need to. But other than that, we're just going to head up into this next room where there's 3 different sparks, and you can take them out with your boomerang if you have it. And we're going to actually push these little barriers into the center, which will drop a chest down from the ceiling in the top right. And inside, we're going to find the nightmare key, so that way we can fight the boss. So now that on mine I actually have dropped the 4th floor, we're going to walk out of the mini boss room and head over to the left where we actually find the boss door, and we're going to go ahead and open that with our nightmare key and head inside. Once we enter the room, there's actually a spot where we can get up here and hookshot across, but instead we're going to go up first and see what's in this next room. And there's a Beamos and some blade traps and a couple of enemies. We're pretty much just going to skip all that because there's no need for us to really mess with it too much, and head into this room on the right where we have a Beamos on a conveyor belt and another one of these little chess puzzles. Using our new mirror shield, we go ahead and deflect our little beam back at the Beamos to get rid of him, and then we go ahead and solve this little chess piece puzzle for the chest to drop down in the top right here, and this is actually going to contain some of Tracy's medicine. If you don't already have some, I actually already had some on me, so it pretty much just put it right back in the chest. But if you don't know, this is the secret medicine that's going to make it to where if you die, it just resurrects you at full health, so pretty nice to have, so use that if you want. Anyway, we're going to backtrack and hookshot across this little pedestal here. Making our way across and getting rid of this Goomba, we head down into the next room, and we see another Goomba that we can go ahead and get rid of if we want, and we go up these stairs into this next little area. This is actually going to bring us out to the top of the tower, and we're going to climb up this ladder to find the Grim Creeper here again, and this time he's actually going to mount the Evil Eagle, and he's going to try to fight us on top of the tower here. So this boss part is pretty straightforward as far as I can tell. You basically just use your boomerang or your arrows, whichever one you have. Hopefully it's the boomerang so you won't run out of arrows. But you just, every time he flies by, you just kind of try to throw your boomerang or shoot him out of the air so that way he takes a little bit of damage. And then you can actually stun him a little bit and try to get some hits in with your sword. Watch out, as he will do these little gusts of winds attack, and he'll shoot these little feathers at you, and it'll easily throw you off the sides into the little spikes, so just try to avoid that as much as possible and use your shield to block the little feathers when they come at you as much as possible. But kind of just rinse and repeat this here and there so that way you can get as many hits in as possible, and boom bam, you'll eventually beat him. Once again, as kind of a reoccurring theme with all of these bosses lately, he's going to warn us that if we wake the windfish that everything will disappear. So after he explodes, we're going to grab our heart piece and head downstairs to where we can try to find our instrument. Walking out of the doorway, we jump down to the right here, and the door opens up now that we've beat the boss, and we can walk up here to gain our new little piano, the organ of the evening calm. So, as always, it's going to fade our screen to white and tell us that the ocarina is pretty much the key to finding the next area, and that it's going to lead us in the right direction. Other than that, that's pretty much all there is for this dungeon. I know this was super confusing, and I really hated going through this dungeon because there's a lot of backtracking involved, and I couldn't show you the whole thing, or else it would basically just be me uploading the entirety of the 50 minutes it took me to make my way through the dungeon. But hopefully this helped a little bit and kind of guided you in the right directions and showed you what you needed to do for certain parts of it. But that's pretty much the best I can do at this point, because I mean, I don't want to upload the entirety of the dungeon. But anyways, thank you guys so much for watching, and as always, I'll see you guys in the next guide.